everybody? It's Chris again, hopefully with less internet issues than we had just moments ago, but that's cool. That's how it is. If it's live, what can you do about it? So, but thanks for hanging with us. We're going to dive into what we're talking about today. So again, welcome to Geared Up. It's our 3 times a week live broadcast where we talk about all things lighting, right? So we do Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We're trying some new times. We're just kind of doing some experimenting. It's all fun stuff. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about hard light portraits. In a nutshell, we're going to discuss things that you need to pay attention to. I'm going to show you how I go about making a hard light portrait. We're going to talk about 2 reflectors in particular, one being the Magnum reflector, and I'm talking about OG, the original gangster, the original Magnum. You can
original gangster.
That's what OG stands for.
I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah, that's OG.
I thought it was just like original.
Yeah, original gangster, OG.
Oh, okay. Now I know.
We digress. Yep. But it's the original Magnum reflector. You can always tell by one, the size, it's much larger than the OCF Magnum reflector, but this hammered, like this dimpled finish interior acts like a whole, like, you know, thousands of mirrors, takes that light, intensifies it, and throws it out. So we're going to jump into that stuff. But we also have the wide zoom reflector, which we're going to be talking about today too. So let's talk about, first and foremost, hard light portraits in general. A lot of people shy away from hard light portraits because they say that the light's too harsh. And what I kind of pull from that information is the light's not harsh, you just have more definition in the shadows. And one of the things I think people fail to pay attention to when they're using hard light is how the shadows fall. A lot of the times, if you just pay attention to the shadows more than you pay attention to the light, you can get the light exactly where you want it, or the light exactly how you want it. And hard light's really beautiful. It has this crispness to it, this punch to it that, quite frankly, you're just not going to get from a diffused, big, soft light source. I really, really love shooting with hard light. I mean, having these modifiers to shoot all this kind of stuff with is really cool. So pay attention to the shadows is the key takeaway that I can give anybody who's wanting to do more hard light stuff. The other nice thing about shooting hard light as opposed to soft light is it's really efficient. So you don't have to, you're not having to power way, way, way up. As a matter of fact, for the most part on the Pro 11 pack that we're using today, right now I can tell you I'm at 0.8 stops when we were testing with the wide zoom, and I know because the Magnum's more efficient that we're probably going to power almost all the way down to 0.1 even with our settings. So they're really efficient modifiers, so using them especially on location, you're not going to have to power up as much, so your B series, your battery powered lights aren't going to use as much juice, which is nice. You're going to get more pops. So that being said, let's jump into the reflectors and what makes them so cool. So again, we're going to talk about first and foremost the Magnum reflector. Cool thing about this is the efficiency that you get out of a Magnum reflector, up to 2 stops more light output. So that's, this is a 2400 watt Pro 11 pack. That's 9600 watts of effective light output. It's crazy what you can do with a big powerful light and this Magnum reflector. Same ideas and stuff like that and concepts apply with like the OCF Magnum reflector, but we're just talking about this one today. So the cool thing about it too is you have a lot of light shaping options too. It's got a lip, so if you want to throw the grid on there, you could. There's this thing called the Pro Tube, which is kind of dope too. We're not really going to get into that kind of stuff today, but it's got a nice little zoom spread. So if you look at the tag on the top, this is 35 to 50, what it's showing you here, but it's really more of a 25 to 50 because you can zoom it a little bit further back than the 8, so you can get a pretty tight light pattern, or you can spread it out and diffuse it out a little bit. But again, highly efficient, tons of light output, really punchy, beautiful light source. So let's talk about the wide zoom. So wide zoom is a little bit smaller. The finish on the inside is kind of this sandblasted interior. I don't know if you can see this really well. So like when you're looking at the Magnum, yeah, I was grabbing the Magnum. So you can see with the Magnum, it kind of has like this dimpled, like this really shiny, high reflective interior finish. With the wide zoom, it's kind of like this matted down. It's still pretty dang efficient. The difference is, whereas this thing's going to give you up to 2 stops more light, this thing's can only give you up to 1 stop more light, which is still good. You're still getting more light out of this thing, but it's definitely not as efficient as the Magnum. But what it does do is it takes a lot of the qualities of the Magnum Reflector, and it makes it much more even. It gives you a much wider spread of light, which is why it's called the wide zoom. So you can get a lot of the feel that you're going to get out of something like a Magnum Reflector, but it's going to be a lot more even. So you're not going to have to worry about it being so pointed like you can get with the Magnum. But really nice, really crisp light spread. The other cool thing about this too is because it's so even, they do a really good job lighting backgrounds. So if you're looking for a good hard reflector for lighting a background, this bad boy is not too bad at it. The zoom reflector is also pretty good too. So that being that, let's take some photos. So I have kind of the light set right now for the wide zoom, so we're going to take that shot first. Just so you know, lighting setup wise, because I'm sure Caitlin's going to go to the wide shot here in a second. We have a Pro 11 with a Pro head. And this is going to be the thing that we're going to use our hard reflectors on. The protruding tube, those reflectors are made for our protruding tube flashes. So if you're going to use something like the original Magnum or like the wide zoom with the tele zoom, at minimum, I would say try to use it with like a B1 or a D1 or a D2, something that you can put the dome reflector onto. But ideally, you would use it with a protruding flash tube and bulb head. It's the way that they were designed originally years and years and years ago was around that. So, and then the second light source that we have is a 4x6 RFI softbox big boy with a D2 500 on the other side of it. So 500 watt D2 going through here, and this is going to be our fill light. It's going to bring that contrast down a little bit, just so it's not so so we don't lose any of the detail in the shadows. So that being said,
you ready for me?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
What's up? What's up? Cool.
It's so nice for the feed not to be chipping and.
Hey, we're not chopping.
No,
we're good.
no,
We're back. We're back in business. Well, again, we apologize. Sometimes the internet acts funky.
It's like
and
Tuesdays. There's something about Tuesdays.
Something about Tuesdays that doesn't love us. So we just did a big, huge restart, and we're back in business. So computer settings wise, we're at F8, 250th of a second. We are chilling out at ISO 160. I'm going to bring this in a little bit tighter. There we go. So again, one of the things that, and I don't know how easy it's going to be able to see this on, I'm going to, no, I don't care about seeing the pack. Okay, let's do, I'm going to do one camera. Yeah, I'm going to do one camera change to the tight shot really fast. Hold on just 1 second. Cool. So, and then I'm going to get super source ready to go back. So, one of the things like I was talking about you want to do, I bet I could turn this down a little bit. Give me just 1 second. I just want to make sure that this thing's not like, oh yeah, that's not going to work. We need it full power. Mo power, baby.
It's fine, it's warm. It's keeping it warm.
So, one of the things that you want to do when you're using your hard reflector is you just kind of want to move it around. So this is where a rolling stand makes this really nice, but you can roll it around and you can see how the shadows fall. A hard light source is going to give you more defined shadows. So you can take that light and you can put it where you want it. So this is one of the things I don't think people do enough with a hard reflector is just kind of move it around your subject and see how that light's going to fall and see if you like it. And then you can take that light and you can still feather it some more. So I want to get some of that light off the background here. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to bring that over.
Something like this.
Yeah. So that's just what I was saying, like try to pay more attention to where the shadows fall than you pay attention to where the light is necessarily. You want to look at both of them, but controlling the shadows is kind of, for me, is the name of the game with hard light. Sweet. So let's go in here. I have this set in as a subtle fill. Open the shoulder up a little bit, Kate. There we go. We got 3, 2, 1. And actually, we're going to stay just right there. We're zoomed all the way. That's beautiful. We're zoomed all the way in with the wide zoom right now. So let's show you how, as we zoom the light. So at a position of 10, we're getting a 72-degree beam spread. We're going to take this to where this, we're going to zoom it kind of all the way to 4 and see how it changes the light. See if we get to power down, see how even it still is. I think I have to actually lift the light up because it came down a little bit. There we go. And let's see, I'm not going to change any settings. Let's just see if we gain more efficiency or what. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. So look at that. I zoomed it in. Maybe a little bit more light output, but still incredibly even through the zoom scale. So you can take that light and you can point it a lot more, or you can zoom it out and start to spread that light out a little bit more, and it's still incredibly even. Now, let's talk about that same story, but with ye old tried and true Magnum Reflector. And again, power settings on that on the wide zoom, 0.8. We're gonna have to pull that power down right here. So one of the cool things about the Magnum is it has this weird quality to where right here it's kind of wide, and then as you zoom it to right around 7 or 8, it gets.
Not be able to see that. Do you want to pull back on the tight shot?
They can actually see the zoom happening in the wide shot. So this is at a zoom position of 4. So as you can see, it gets tighter and then it starts to spread back out again. So let's go to where the light is the tightest. I'm probably gonna have to back this off of you just because I don't think I'm gonna be able to turn the light down any lower. And granted, I could go into high-speed sync and handle a lot of this stuff too, but that's not what I wanna do. So you just wanna kind of make sure that light's pointed. I know that I need to turn this thing all the way down, so we're gonna go to 0.1, and I still think we're gonna be overpowered. So here we go, Kate. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, still totally overexposed. So I had to turn the power down and we still have so much light. So let's back it off a little bit. The light quality is going to change a little bit because this, in relationship to Kate, the light source is getting smaller, but it should still be very nice. Let's see where we're at here. Actually, I don't think that I have the hot spot on you. You know what we should just do? I should just point the light up instead of trying to raise it higher. There it is. That got spicy. Cool. Hotspots on Kate. Let's see if we backed it up enough to get that light where we want. 3, 2, 1. It's looking better. It's probably still a touch over, but it's not too bad. You know what? Honestly, probably need to back it up a little bit more. Which I'm going to do.
I need my sunglasses.
Yeah, it's bright. And you know, the cool thing about the Magnums too, if you're using like constant lights, is it's going to intensify the constant light as well. So if you wanted to use that, it does the same thing. 3, 2, 1. There it is. But you see, we had to back it up quite a bit. Some of the light's starting to hit the background. But without moving this light at all, let's zoom it into something a little more diffused out. And you're going to be able to see this again. And you should be able to see this as long as I'm not blocking the shot. Here we go. Cool. See how much that diffused out? Pretty wild, right? So let's put that at 10. And then I think we're going to bring it back a little bit just because I think it needs it. It's going to be drastically under. But let's see where we're at. 3, 2, 1. Great exposure. Really, really nice. So, and that's much more even. So, thanks, Kate. Good job. Rock and roll. So let's pull these photos in here. Let's talk about them a little bit and talk about what these things do. I think I can kill this. Thanks, Pro 11. You rock. Alrighty, we're in business. All right, cool. So let's bring up these three. Is anybody asking anything?
Yeah, I'm gonna look real quick.
Gotcha. While I'm talking about the shots, Caitlin's gonna look to see if there's any questions, and we'll do what we can do to answer them. So let's bring up the zoom first. Boom, boom. So the wide zoom, again, a really, really even light. If you look at the light here on Kate's face down to the shoulder, the highlights are pretty dang smooth. Still a nice hard light. You can see the detail in the loop pattern that we were creating. It's actually more of a Rembrandt right here with the triangle, but the fill is filling it in a bit so it's not as exaggerated. And it's got the nose loop there. So it's kind of a funky combination of like almost Rembrandt light and just at the tail end of a loop light, which is kind of cool. And again, I think some of that's also mitigated by the fact that we're filling in some of those deeper shadows. But you were able to zoom it a little bit with the wide zoom, and you did gain some efficiency. You can see that this is a little more, there's a little more exposure on the shot. It's not overexposed by any means. You definitely pulled this back, but it did gain some intensity. So even though it's still very, very smooth and very even, for the most part with both of them in comparison, you were able to make up a little bit of that power, and that's where we're talking about, you know, that light source can give you up to 1 stop more light output. Very, very cool stuff. Then let's jump into the Magnum. Actually believe that, let's see, this is where we backed it off to. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the Magnum. So the Magnum is a much more pointed light source. We had to, because of, again, the efficiency, up to 2 stops more light output, we had to back the power way down. So we're at the base of what this Pro 11 can get down to, which is 0.01, or no, sorry, not 0.01, 0.1. So a tenth of a stop of power is all we're using of this flash. Super duper low. I think, what is the little switch? There's a little card on the side that says, so 0.1 is 2.4 watt seconds. So that's pretty wild. We're all the way down. And it's such an intense modifier.
What?
Apparently I have a box of stuff that decided that it wanted to fall over.
Halloween week.
It's Halloween.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's haunted. It's you know what? That's what's going on. We're haunted today. But but because it's so efficient, you don't have to use as much of electricity. I mean, like if I wanted to pulse a whole bunch of shots, I mean, think about how fast, I mean, the recycle speed at full power is already insanely fast, but I could easily get 50 frames a second just holding down that trigger and getting tons of light output. So very, very cool stuff. You can see it's much more pointed here. You can see how much more light's here than it is on the shoulder, but we were able to take that and zoom it back a little bit, and the zoom is going to take that light and smooth it out and spread it out. And now look at this. So the difference between this being a much hotter hot spot and then kind of trailing off, this feels a lot more even. So you have a lot of zoom control. Very, very cool stuff, but you still have that intensity. Same thing, like I said, a combination of on the edge of Rembrandt and loop light, but still very, very beautiful light. And then again, we just used the D2 and the 4x6 to bring the contrast down so it's not, these shadows aren't so deep. Anybody have any questions, or we good for what it seems like?
Would this fit on a Bowen?
So it's not made for an S mount as far as the modifier goes. I think there are some things out there that people use to adapt Pro Photo modifiers to that S mount. I don't know that you're going to get the zoom effect that you would get because of the way that the collar of a Pro Photo flash is built with the head. Like that mount is designed that way. It's always worth experimenting, but I can't unequivocally say that using an adapter, like an S-mount adapter into a Magnum, is going to give you the same effect. So, cool. Awesome question. Cool. Awesome question. Thank you so much.
Yep.
So, thank you all so much for coming and kicking it with us today. Thanks for hanging around for round 2. Again, if you're watching this on ProPhoto.com, there's little things that pop up around the edges. You can click on those bad boys, and if you want some more information about the Pro 11s, the Magnums, the wide zooms, any of that stuff, the softbox that we used, you can click on that and you can dive in there and you can get some more information on ProPhoto.com. This video is going to be here if you want to come back and reference it later. In the meantime, I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. We'll be back here tomorrow. So we'll see you again where we talk about some more hard reflectors. Have an awesome day. Peace out, everybody. Later.